Okay, so we just got done with our little snifferoo. I say snifferoo because there's more snifferoo than a walk. I had to stop every little bit to sniff everything. Of course, we got Peppy with us today. Kid's just not okay with that, so she moved to the other side. Ziva's laying down. Yeah, so yesterday I was kind of all over the place because I was fasting and just got really spacey toward the end of the video. I mean, not that it was ever extremely coherent along the way, but felt like I got spacier toward the end of it. So last night I decided to end my fast since I was being all spacey and dizzy. Ate a couple things and then I went and had to lay down for a while because it was so dizzy. And the girls went with me. I don't know what Taz did, but the girls went to their beds. So, well, Ziva went to her bed and Gidge went to my bed, which is her bed too. So, yeah. I had a weird dream. It was really vivid, and like there was this blue-gray ski lodge kind of a thing that we were standing in front of, and I was out there with a bear. A big bear that was probably adolescent bear aged wise, because it wasn't a full grown one, but it was really super friendly. And yeah, kind of had human personality traits to some degree, but I really don't remember much about the dream other than I was just really interested in this bear because it was like this really shiny fur. I don't know if it was like somebody's pet, if you will, or what that connection was, but it was really friendly. And I was hanging out with the bear in front of this blue-gray ski lodge with like a lamppost or something that was where we're at, like on this little deck thing. That's the extent of what I remember of it. So yeah. And like that, I slept from, I think it was like 5 to 7:30. And when I woke up, I was still really tired and kind of figured I'd go back to sleep without a problem, and that didn't end up happening. So I watched the video and uploaded it, and no real big anything. Spent some time, did a meditation, spent some time writing before I tried to go to bed. And then when I tried to go to bed, I just lay there. And I was, just letting my mind wander. Because that's what you do when you can't sleep, right? And I was thinking through, like, everything with Ziva and on that end. And I actually, okay, so I fasted for clarity. Saw my threes just then too. I was fasting for clarity, and then I got really dizzy and tired, and so I slept it off a little bit, right? And then there was nothing, the wheels weren't turning or anything. It was just kind of there, doing things, meandering through thoughts, I guess. But then there was nothing big that really came up along the way. Till I was laying in bed and I started thinking, what are you belching for now? Dude, so tacky. I had my inspiration. And I think the whole writing direction, I've been trying to figure out what's the angle and how to do this without getting sucked right back into all the negativity and all that stuff. But then, like, as I was writing, or I started off journaling, but then I had a thought about how Ziva's the one that's basically going to crack me open, kind of a thing. And as I was sitting with that thought, started writing about her and that idea just being cracked open by this whole situation. And like when I was writing about her or things we've done in our time together, it was a lot easier to weave with emphasis on the good rather than just the bad. Whereas every other time I've tried to write and haven't taken her into consideration, it just goes like really dark and I get lost in myself and kind of goes to crap. It's like that never-ending cycle, like the shitty thoughts get kicked up and then it's hard to break out of it again, right? But like when I was focusing on writing and talking about like stories with us and times we've had together, it was a lot easier to stay more positive on that end. And I realized that that's more the angle that I need to go with it. Because like my dogs have always been like a huge thing for me, right? And even the fact that most of the videos I've done have had them in the car with me along the way. Like everything that's happened in the past several years, especially these three, best and good, and that one back there, especially these three, like, because because if you work on just navigating through the stuff from the past, it's easier to go dark and fixate on the depressing parts of it, right? That's why I like the struggle with depression, because you're overly fixated on the past, or anxiety overly fixated on the future. And it's difficult to be in the present, right? And her Peppy's checking out the window. But I was thinking about how, when we moved back up to Indiana after we left Alabama, everything in me really wanted to just like completely shut down. And because I had these three, and especially these mouthier two, Gidgy. Yeah, she's not going to pay attention now. Especially those two being younger and more energetic. It was like I couldn't completely, because I had to stay somewhat present, because if I shut completely down, then they were gonna drive me crazy with, bad behaviors and getting into trouble and doing the things they know they're not supposed to, right, Tazzy? And, he and Ziva kind of did that anyway, as far as getting into the shit on the table and all that fun stuff. But Gidge was just ball obsessed, and she's so ball obsessed that if she didn't get her time to burn her energy, she's gonna let me know about it. So they were the reason that I kept going. And I think that's kind of the angle. It's this whole, navigating through the shitty things to try to heal on my end, has been mainly focused on them to keep me from completely withdrawing into my shell and, losing myself there. And they wouldn't let me. And it's like all the good and the bad times and everything. It's like they've been there and kind of been my motivation for, okay, like leaving the last time when we finally left for good. It was, I mentioned a few times that, I just scratched myself, that I think it was the last week that I was there, my ex made that comment about how I just needed to get laid and then I would stay there, and tried to force himself on me, and I shoved him back. And when I did that, like, all three dogs just like immediately jumped into action, and Gidge was laying on my chest and Taz was standing over my waist and Ziva was standing over my feet, and they were just, well, Ziva and Taz were snarling and snapping at my now ex, and the thought came to mind that they were doing their job to protect me, and it was my job to protect them now. And it was time to leave. So we left, and it was entirely because these three gave me something outside of myself to focus on, to keep from turning completely within and losing myself again. That's always kind of the way that I've done things. So it's like the past few years when I've been focusing on the healing end of things, it was like also healing from the stuff that caused me to turn in before. And that's been a pain in the ass. It's like, there's so much, right? I had this song that kept playing over and over in my head too. It was Nothing More, Fade In, Fade Out. And I started listening to that one after Tyler died. I think it got added to that playlist I was listening to all the time at that point in time. And yeah, it just kept playing over, and it's like, I just cried. Just talked to the vet too. So I turned in the urine sample and the fecal sample for Ziva to see what that came up, and she called me after the urinalysis had been done, and I started crying on her too. Trying to talk through everything and what she's been doing, and she wants to check her again to see if anything substantially has changed since she was in there a month ago. It's like, I was like, I'm gonna have to see if I can borrow from somebody for a minute, because otherwise I do not have it right now. And it's one of those things that's really frustrating. It's like, I have 3 things that are decent things that are going to pay me, right? But that's like a month out from the payment. It's like, fuck. So I'm still trying to make things work in the meantime, but I'm really sick of having to ask my mom for help on the vet appointments right this second. But I also know I am exactly where I'm meant to be, and even that I mentioned that white feather tarot reading the other day where she was talking about there's something with a beloved pet that is going to basically force you to open up to your gifts. And it's like this whole writing thing that I have oftentimes along the way said that I wanted to do, and set the intention to the universe that I even wanted to do it, and have that go well. And I've had to come back to it and kind of remind myself, as well as set new intentions surrounding the project, to get more aligned with where I need to be able to work on it well, sufficiently. Anything. At all. Because it's like, I know there's some kind of... She doesn't know the point of this video thing. She doesn't know what we're doing. She's just in and out of the window. But yeah, like, I know the big thing is the healing part of it, right? And to incorporate the healing part of it, you kind of got to give a little bit of backstory on what you're healing from, right? So, yeah, it was like every time I tried to write with the negative stuff in mind, it's like I just kept getting lost in it. It's like, how do I make this a thing that I can do? I know this is the thing I'm supposed to do. This writing thing has always been the big thing, right? And I've frequently wandered off from it, and largely because there's that fear that says, what if we don't do it good enough? What if we don't do it well at all, right? What if it doesn't come across like it's supposed to? Or like, what if we fail? And I'm seeing that, like, even into this whole YouTube thing, the reason I started that was, because of twin flame stuff, right? Because he had to be out there enough that I could find him, but then how was he ever going to find me, right? If that was actually what I wanted, how would he ever actually find me? So I started doing this thing, and the first ones, I think I did without the dogs, but then when I started back up in March last year, then they were usually with me. And, we'd be walking, and I'd just be out in nature thinking, right? And then, do a video along the way. It goes back to that, that dream that I had, right before I started back into it, where, okay, so in that dream, I was in a bathroom stall, and this girl was sitting outside of the stall, kind of leaning her back against, like, the bottom of it, because she's just leaning on the wall, and she says, you need to start telling the story you already have to share before more of your mission will be revealed. So I started doing that, and what I found is a big part of what I had to work through initially, because, like, my stories, I mean, they're still the same, but it's like every time I'm able to talk through them and maybe make some new connections, maybe not make new connections, maybe just hear it a different way. It's like every time I've told the stories, it feels like a little bit more of it's able to be released. Like, rather than just holding on to everything all the time. And I feel like that's why it felt so incredibly soul-crushing every single time I tried to approach it before. And so it'd be this big soul-crushing thing, and I could never get myself unburied from it. But then it was just, and I've always kind of done that. It's like whenever I've told stories, it's like, why am I always going back to the same shit? Why can I not move on from this, right? And so, like, this post-divorce span of time, this healing point with this twin flame, I mean, I get kind of focus, but not really focus, because it's one of those things. It's like, it's beyond me, so it's giving me something, there again, outside of myself, but also inside of myself, to focus on, like the ideas of what do I want in, any kind of future connections, friendships even. What would that scenario look like? And like, it's given me something to, and that's another thing, like the big thing is, all along the way, I feel like my entire life, the biggest struggle that I've had was that I was incapable of dreaming for myself. Like I had this idea that I wasn't supposed to have dreams because I wasn't supposed to do anything for myself, because it was just strictly, you exist to take care of the generations before you because that's what you were raised for, and so to navigate through that and figure out how truly toxic that thinking is, and how soul crushing it's been all along the way, it's some heavy shit. And then it's like, every time I'm able to talk through it, I feel like I'm able to let it go a little bit more, so I won't be as fixated on the shit that happened in the past. So eventually, when I get this book out of my system, then I'll be able to tell other stories too. And I'd really like to get to like better things. So, yeah. Oh, man, it's a frustrating one though. So I feel like that's a big part of like everything that's going on with Ziva right now. And, I've don't like the fading process, if you will. Also, I feel better now that I've thought about the fact that I do have 3 incomes getting ready to come my way. So I can say, hey, I need a momentary assist, to see about getting her checked out again. But yeah, like, even just little things like, okay, like talking to the vet this morning and crying on the vet this morning. I've been so fixated on the idea that I don't have it right now and can't do it right now on my own, that like I wasn't even considering the fact that I have literally 3 things that are decent things that are going to help this month, right? Or whenever mainly this month, 2 of them this month, the other whenever I get it done. It was like, those things are going to help. So yeah, maybe I gotta borrow again, but there's something lined up right away that will help. And like, that's the biggest thing, is like, I've been having to learn the fine art of asking for assistance when needed, and not always financial stuff, like, even, I don't know, but like, I've just always had this idea that I was never supposed to ask anybody for assistance because that was a sign of failure. but yet at the same time, to balance both aspects of yourself, the feminine and masculine aspects, the feminine is the receptive one, and at some point, well, okay, one of those messages that keeps repeating is there's a balance between giving and taking, and if you're giving all of yourself all of the time and not ever allowing yourself to receive from others, from the universe, from whatever, it's like if you're not open to receiving, hey, then you choke that flow off, right? Get in the back seat. Behave yourself. Why do you act up in videos now? Because he never gets enough water. I have it super full this time. He's drank a lot since we've got done with our little meandering. He's gonna try to do it again. Hold on. Okay, maybe that'll buy us a few minutes. What do you think? We got a few minutes now. Oh, here's a random thing that I noticed in most of the dreams that have been really important along the way on this journey. There is a ridiculous amount of them in which I've been in a bathroom stall. And I've talked about the one where the girl was talking to me outside of the stall, and I was in the stall. And and that was interesting. In that one, it's like the entire course of this dream, it's like there were things like videos playing on the walls of the building, and it's like they're in the bathroom, in the get back there in that back seat. In the other areas that I was in the dream. Stop, dude. You're gonna be barking at yourself later. Quit it. Back seat. Stop. And we did try to burn some energy off these kids before we came over here, because I knew we weren't going to walk as much as some of us wanted to. And so Gidget played a lot of ball, and Taz got to play with his, the flirt pole thing. I don't know. It's a stick with a rope, and he loves chasing the rope. And then when he catches it, then we have to play tug of war for a little bit. So I'm going to be sore later and wonder why, and he's why. Because there's some tug of war. But also a lot of him jumping around in the air because he was trying to catch the rope. So yeah. But anyway, in that dream, all the videos everywhere, and even once I connected with the twin flame in that dream, because that was the one where we were crawling into this room kind of behind this group of people, and through this group of people crawling on these comfort mats on the floor, trying to stop. If you don't behave, I'm gonna get out of the car. On these comfort mats, and then when we came together, we jumped up and took off, and it seemed like we were on a mission, and he seemed to have more of an idea what was going on than I did. And there's all of these scenes through the random empty hallway, through the group of people. It's there were these best I could tell, it was there were memories of his that were being played on the walls, and it was in a camper van kind of a thing and get and do this one more time. You're almost out of water. Don't worry, he's not been struggling. He just doesn't ever have enough, he doesn't think. But yeah, like memories like being in a camper van or something, and they were just playing everywhere, and I felt like I couldn't look at, or I felt like I was imposing if I looked at what was going on in these like memories or whatever they were. So I didn't have a really good understanding of what was going on in them. But it started with the scene in the bathroom. There was another one when I first, I think when I encountered his energy in the real world, the live stream deal, where I said something and then he responded and it was a big thing, and I freaked out because it was like I'd been spotted and I was no longer just a fly on the wall kind of a thing. I had a dream after that like I was in this bathroom stall there again, and he was in there for some reason cleaning the bathroom. It's like, why would he be in here for doing this and blah blah blah. And he started at like the other end, and I think there were like 4 stalls in it, and I ended up having to come out and walk past him at the first stall, and it was like there was a whole thing with that too, and maybe one day I'll explain that one. I probably have before. But it was just like I don't know, just weird things. But like I can think of a couple other dreams that had some scene where I was in a bathroom stall. It's like, what the hell is it about this? Why am I always in the freaking bathroom stall? It's like hiding out, right? Because that's one of those things where, you know, you go to the bathroom behind closed doors typically, right? So it's somewhere you can go and shut people out. So it's like every single time I've had a dream that, you know, and frequently that he's been in some way, at some point in the dream, I'm hiding in the bathroom. It's like, that's interesting. It's not wrong though, because I mean, I spent time in this video, I think, talking about hiding out and disappearing within myself. So it's like that whole thing. It makes perfect sense that I would be hiding out in the bathroom, because I've been hiding out my whole life, right? You know, from the interesting things, from doing anything big and exciting, and from dreaming even. Yeah, all the things. So of course, I was hiding out. And why? Because when you get to the deep, scary stuff, it hurts. And it's been uncomfortable how much I've cried through these videos, I think, but I also know that too is part of the whole healing process, right? And, you know, it was like, I mentioned how every time I tell the stories, it feels like I'm able to release a little bit more of them, more of, I guess, the density that surrounds that thing that I've been carrying so long. And so I feel like since this channel, I have spent so much time telling the same stories, but differently. And, you know, like, the big thing is, like, I don't just refer back to, oh, I already talked about that once. I usually retell some part of the story because it's still relevant for whatever I'm telling in that moment, right? So it's a back and forth trying to work through it and release it and be able to shift into something else. So it's where a big part of, like, this whole, okay, I said when I turned 40, when I got my lip ring and my nose rings in particular, nose rings that changed the shape of my nose. It used to match. And now it doesn't. Oh well. Might have if I only got one, but I got 2. Because I liked how the double hoop looked, and then I like my onyx and my ruby together, so I don't know that I'll ever switch them out. I mean, I might, but for now I haven't, and don't really have any interest in it, so it is what it is. But anyway, when I turned 40 and got those, I set the intention that I would never again work in a job that asked me to be anything less than 100% who I was. But you know what that means, don't you? You set the intention, that also means you have to line up with being 100% who you are too. And that's the really scary part, I think. Yeah. Oh, but like I was saying, like, I don't expect people to go back and rewatch all of these videos, however interesting they might find me later on down the line when my people find me. I don't expect that. I don't watch everybody's videos that I subscribe to, right? And sometimes it's just like little pieces of them. It's like, that one has a message. Okay, I'm going to watch it. And usually it's just that easy. It's like something pops up. I know there's something there for me, so I watch it and then find it. Yeah. But I feel like that too is part of the purpose of this whole channel, is because as I've been releasing the layers of the density for the stuff I've personally been carrying, it's allowing the opportunities to come up along the way where something happens and suddenly I'm able to dream about something a little differently than before. Like how I couldn't see at all how I could possibly get out of the situation I'm currently in with living, at my parents' house at 41. I moved back in 2019 when I left my ex that last time and was going through my divorce. And then I kind of got shut down for a good chunk of time. And then I started trying to do the writing thing, but then it didn't go so well. And then I turned within on myself again. And then, the twin flame thing came up again. And then it's just like things keep coming up to kind of bump me along. It's like, all right, you're not sticking here right now. So it's time to do the next thing. But the big thing on that end, because I wasn't able to see how I could possibly get out of this situation without needing somebody else to save me. Then in December, my sister-in-law said that if they moved, that I would be welcome to go with them. And it's like, interesting. That's a thought that literally had never crossed my mind before, but just her posing that scenario was enough to make me think that, hey, the universe knows things that I don't know, right? And, I've gotten a lot of those messages along the way too, with the universe has ways, just, be positive and grateful. Focus on things you have to be grateful for, and more will come to you. Yes. So yeah, I feel like the book is kind of like the culmination of all the things. Like, it will finally get it out of my system and be able to be a big thing to let it go, right? To finally let it go. And then when people know anything about me, then they can come back to this channel and be like, oh, maybe she was actually doing something. And maybe she did know some things. But in the meantime, that goes back to that point of why it's so important for me to trust myself, because I know it sounds crazy when I can throw these things out about this twin flame person that I foresee in my future. And yeah, those stories are staying the same. I mean, the dream ones might change some. I said the other day, I had this little vision. It's the one that's most recurring, of the first time we meet, and it's at one of his concerts where he's singing and he sees me. And then it's a big thing, right? Because then there are witnesses. But it's am I completely locked in on that? No, but I think that one sounds pretty cool. I don't know. I've thought before, maybe he finds me on this thing, but I don't think that's it. The other thing, I kind of set the intention for the universe, was that it's I wanted to have a thing of my own that I've done before I meet him, because I don't want to just like feel in any way like I'm relying on somebody else again to fix my situation. So like this whole writing thing, you know, that's all on me. I have to do that myself. I have to put in the work, and all this healing stuff, I've had to put in the work to do the healing, and be able to get to the writing. So there's been a lot of doing work. And at the same time, it's like I have these big ideas for this book as well, right? And it's literally something I've known throughout my life that this is the thing I'm supposed to be doing. And I've tried to commit that over to the universe time and time again. And have. But sometimes I get lost along the way when I disappear into myself. So I just had to kind of bounce me back out. Which that goes to that whole point of why the twin flame journey was necessary for me, because it's so easy for me to disappear into myself and not keep on going, to just hide out and avoid everything. Dude, you are getting very difficult for these videos. Do you want a more main character role? Quit it. Get back in the back seat. You already had some. Hey, stop. Hey, no. Yeah, but the twin flame thing gives me something outside of myself to keep moving for, right? So I can't just go in myself and get lost completely. Stop. Because I don't want to have the same life that I always had. This one sucks. You know, I mean, yeah, it has its... I mean, I have a lot to be grateful for. Especially this champ. Stop! Get in the back seat and settle down. But at the same time, it's not where I want to be. I mean, forever. It's okay for now, but this is just a step on the path. It's not the whole thing. The journey is the destination, right? Yeah. Hi, Pep. Yeah, so if you could just chill, we're about done. Now I gotta remember where I was. Yeah, but like the twin flame thing has been to keep me moving. This dude has been helping me stay moving as well. And yeah. Quit! Ow, bozo! He's just like, what did you do? Why are you not in here? I can't reach you now. Oh, and Ziva's just looking at me like, Mom. Yeah. Now my lighting's all jacked up. But, oof, that's awful. Go the sun in my eyes route. Yeah, dude, seriously, just chill. Just chill. Oh no, kid's stuck. Kid, you got stuck. Okay. Gidge looped herself in the leash. And whoop! Peppy fell on the floor. She was going to come up to the front seat. She bit it instead. Yeah. So. I don't know what to talk about. Forget where I was, dude. Thanks. Can I get back in the car and you'll leave me alone? Doubtful. Okay. So it's been something to keep me moving, right? And honestly, well, my canine crew in here will live on forever as long as the videos live on, right? But I feel like, stop. Don't you do that. He's gonna do it. Guess I'm just gonna sit outside the car now. Kind of wish. I don't know where to go. Maybe I'll sit on this stone. I can see ears, and that's about it. Anyway. I don't remember where I was at all. I mean, the twin flame thing keeping me moving outside of myself because of my tendency to turn in and go into hiding every time things get hard. Yeah. But then when the big project is done, the book project, then there will be things to refer back to, I guess, to see if I actually was telling the truth on those things or not. Because I feel like I've set some lofty aspirations for myself in this lifetime. All going back to that point of wanting to make some kind of change in the world. So, yeah. The only way you get to do that is go through hard shit, so. They're so much more well-behaved now that I'm out of the car. Yeah. So I was thinking also about how I've been collecting things to help me along the way. And that can go back to a Nordic Light video that I watched at one point, and she was talking about how she said it's like you've left pieces of yourself scattered around for yourself to find, and now you're going back and collecting those things that you left for yourself to find. It's like, yeah, I feel that's pretty accurate. You know, like even going back to, I think it was 2021, I signed up for this book writing challenge. It was like a 30-day write your book, whatever, by this Joshua Sprague? Yeah, somebody. And like I still have all his emails and everything. It's like I paid for this damn challenge that I didn't end up finishing at the time, and I was revisiting the first email today, and like one of the first things he had on it was accountability and setting yourself like a deadline to get it written by, and a deadline to get the book written by, and a consequence for if you don't. It's like, so maybe I'll tell my brother if I don't stick to my deadline, maybe I have to give him $100. Not because I want to, but that's kind of the point of the accountability piece, right? You set a thing, then you have something you have to do in case you don't do what you're supposed to do. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, but I figure it's got to be something that I will actually, you know, my brother, if I tell him that I have to get my book written by this date or I'm going to owe him $100, I guarantee I could have him put that on a calendar somewhere. I don't know that he would necessarily feel okay taking it, if I fell through on it. But I feel like I could set that and he would be okay with it. So give me something to do and somebody to be like, hey, you doing the thing you're supposed to? Yeah, but like I was going through the emails. Now, mind you, I saved this thing back in like 2021 and am just now getting back to it. And I have tried before. Like I looked at it and was started to go that route again, but it was before this whole like the twin flame stuff kicked the journey into high gear. And which is kind of interesting because the challenge actually came up shortly after the live stream where I encountered this dude and he responded to me and it's like so it's like I can see how the universe has been weaving things together, bringing me closer to where I'm supposed to be, while also giving me motivation to keep going and doing the things, especially the hard, scary things. Yeah. Weird thing. Oh, I don't know if I finished that. It's like one of the big things that I kind of put out there for the universe is like, before I actually meet him, right? I want to have my own thing, so I'm not just relying on other people to make things work for me or whatever. I want to have done something that is my thing, right? Even if he is like partly a big motivating factor along the way of it, it still has to be for me first, and my healing, and that is a huge thing, right? So, the other part of that is my name sucks, y'all. I mean, it is what it is, but when I was submitting, or when I gave the zoo permission to use my picture, it's like, you can't just use Sarah Jones because how many of those are there out there? And it's like, okay, Sarah Lynn Jones to narrow it down a little bit, but still, that name kind of sucks. So there's also this idea that I have to have at least a good chunk of it written before I can meet this dude. I mean, because all the rest of those pieces, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, meanwhile, I rushed into changing the name at one point in time, and yeah, that was ended up a hot mess and not going so well, and being a royal pain in the ass to get out of. But that's another thing, my name, I've made fun of it a lot. I even once upon a time had a group on Facebook that I started for people with ridiculously common names because it just seemed like a thing to do. And I knew there were people that would relate with that. And there were a whole bunch of people that did relate to that, and it had a decent amount of people in it. But like I said, it was short-lived, and some of them, they'd come in with a married name or something. It's like, that doesn't sound that common. It's like, are you sure you're on this list? But yeah, not that there's an actual list. But yeah, my junior year in undergrad, when I moved into the rental house that was kind of creepy off campus, with 5 other girls that I was living with, the last 2 of us to sign the lease, there was Sarah Jones and Sarah Smith. The Sarah Smith, her Sarah did not have an H, mine does. And yeah, so the landlords always used to joke about how, we didn't really exist. They just made it up so they could have other people and not have to fill up the house. It's like, yeah, sure. Anyway, in like basic training, I was relieved to have a bland name at that point in time. And yet, it's like my life has always been telling me that's not the name that I'm supposed to have for, like, big things. Because, like, my name feels like it caters to playing small. And yet, when I was in basic training, there was this other girl that my main battle buddy. Actually, there were two of them. One of them also had the last name Smith. And the other one had a much more complicated one. It wasn't like her married name was Rasmussen. And every single time the drill sergeants went to yell at me, they used her name. It's like my name's never been aligned with who I am and who I'm here to be. So, yeah, that's just something that, yeah. But anyway, since it's the one I got for now, it's the one I got to use. And oh, that zoo thing. That too was one of those little things to help move me into not just playing small all the time. And that one was, when I won the thing, and then within 30 minutes, my parents kind of crashed the whole mood around it and, like, made me feel bad about having won this thing. Not because they were doing anything or saying anything to, I guess, make me feel bad about having put in for the thing, but it's like, somehow it bothered their situation that I had done something that might get me recognition outside of minding the family drama, like this is all I've been supposed to do in my lifetime. Forever playing small and just dealing with the family nonsense because that's what I was raised to do. But my life doesn't like that. Universe is challenging me all along the way on that one. Yeah, and going down to that, is it Uranus conjunct my Venus in Leo? I don't know, I have to find that one again. It's on the Pattern app, and I love that thing, and it's so accurate. And it tells me what cycles I'm in and what might be happening around this time. And part of that, one of them on that end talked about around 40 to 41 is when you finally start putting the pieces together in a roundabout way. because I've just been picking up everybody else's shit in the meantime and taking it on as my own because I wasn't minding my boundaries, because I didn't know that was something you had to do. Speaking of that again, I pulled some cards from that Animal Apothecary deck again before I left the house. And the first one that came out was the Tigress with Sacred Boundaries again. And then next to that was the Jaguar with Nourish the Shadow. And then Breakthrough. And Breakthrough. Okay. So Sacred Boundaries, obviously, I think part of what the card says is, or what the guidebook says is, Tigress doesn't even entertain things that will put her boundaries at risk because she knows that nothing good will come of it, essentially. Nourish the Shadow. When the painful stuff comes up, sit with it. Go through the feelings. Because if you want to not be forever dominated by what lies in the shadow, then you have to sit with it and face what is in there that you're hiding or running from. That's me. Breakthrough. That one talks about when you're on the verge of a breakthrough, be aware that your lizard brain might try to self-sabotage. Yeah. And then was another tiger card, the other one in the deck, that says claim your power. And then what was after that one? Oh, dragon. Action leads to success. And then the bottom of the deck energy was armadillo with you're about to shine. And it's kind of funny because even like I don't read for anybody else other than me. I just pull cards, and I usually go with what's in the guidebook on, for whatever message that I'm looking for. And I'm finding that especially now that I am more familiar with this deck and some of these cards have like continuously came up for me, it's like I feel like just seeing the cards themselves are starting to speak to me in a way that they haven't before. And so that's kind of cool. So I think that goes back to one of those points of how I've felt forever shut off from any gifts on the spiritual end because, I had all this other shit I had to work through first. And now I feel like since it's finally starting to clear up, this other stuff's finally starting to become accessible. And that's kind of exciting. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's probably good enough for today. So go ahead and call it here and go take some action. Do some writing and some focused effort on this thing now that I have more direction that came from sitting with the shadow, sitting with the painful shit, to, start allowing it to be there and seeing where it's taking me, in and of itself is a big thing. So as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.